Hello, family and friends. Welcome to another edition of the Reimagine You Lab podcast. It is me, MG, and today I have another amazing guest in the lab. And listen, before we get started, y'all know I got to do a little housekeeping stuff. If you haven't already, so hit the subscribe button, lock yourself in so that each week you get a new episode because it's always somebody in here that's got something good for you. I'm telling you, like, wait till we get into the conversation this evening. You guys are going to be blessed and ministered to, helped out. I'm telling you right now, because the man who's here today he just all that. He just all that. I love him, appreciating. All right, so you know what, y'all? As a matter of fact, housekeeping, I'll leave it to the end. We're going to go ahead and jump in. Hey, Jason, welcome to the lab. How are you today?
I'm doing very well,
Good,
Yes,
good, good, good.
indeed.
Listen, y'all, I want y'all to know that today's guest, first of all, is a thoughtful voice for clarity in a world that often rushes people into performance. The Dr. Jason Gads invites us back to our original design, reminding us that true growth isn't really forced, it's aligned, and that understanding how we're wired may be the most powerful forms of freedom. Dr. Gads, I want you to, we're going beyond the bio. Tell them who you are, where you are,
Yeah.
what you do, and how you do it.
Well, first and foremost, I appreciate the time being on here with you today. I never count it as a matter of course, right? It's a special thing, and it is a privilege, right? So, and I like saying that word privilege between people of color because we often don't afford one another those things. And so I want to say thank you first and foremost for having me on. And
Absolutely.
hello, family. I hope you're doing well. I am Jason Gines. I reside in Kansas City, Missouri. Even though our football team just moved to Kansas, but we're not going to talk about that
I
today.
know, I heard about that,
Yeah, we're
Jason. I
not going to
heard.
talk about that today. But I am an educator first and foremost, and that is as a legacy from my mother and father, who are career educators. And so I see myself through that lens first and foremost, which means then that every space that I occupy, there is some knowledge transfer that I'm expecting. There is some exchange of energy. There is some exchange of purpose. There is some exchange of action. And so, because that is my primary sort of identity, that is what I have used my entire life to take on roles of being a trained therapist. I am a trained educator. I am also involved in organizational development and organizational design. So I think about human human to human interaction, and I think about human to system interaction.
Mm,
So everything that we do, there's not one space that we occupy, whether it be church, whether it be school, whether it be a community, whether it be your business, whatever it is, there's not one space we occupy that there's not some exchange happening.
yeah,
And so I spend a lot of time thinking about and helping people think about not only who they are, but who they are in context, who they
yeah,
are in an environment, who they are in a system.
yeah.
And so that's who I am. So if you meet me, know me, and you hear me, you will hear some element where I will be helping you understand yourself better, helping you understand the context you're in better, but mainly understanding who you are in context so that you can get from surviving to thriving. And that's really what it's about. It's really about getting to a positionality where I'm not struggling just to survive the day. And
Yeah.
so many of us are just struggling, just getting through a day, a week. And so I'm just trying to really get to a place of if you ask who I am, is helping people get to a place of thriving.
No, Jason, I love that. As a matter of fact, I really want to I want to unpack that as we conversate tonight. Tell,
Mhm.
I imagine that the answer to this question here, because I was just thinking, Jason, what brings you peace or joy? What's bringing you peace or joy right now in this season? Well,
Yeah, yeah, this is a really good question. And it's not a question where I am going to sort of ignore the externalities that are impacting all of us right now. When you have
Right.
a world in chaos, right? You have world leaders who are having
Mhm.
animus between each other. You have a federal and national level of targeting, right, happening with some of our fellow citizens, some of our friends, neighbors.
Mhm.
So to ask that question now in full view of what is happening contextually is really the right question. And what brings me peace, first and foremost, is my relationship with God, that I
Yeah.
believe that God is sovereign and God foreknew all that is taking place. And what is keeping me is that when I read his instruction manual, he tells me that I can have confidence even in chaos, that I can have confidence, especially when
Mhm.
things look like they're not going to work in my favor. And it is that daily return to what I call a God confidence is
Mhm.
really keeping me joyful right now. It makes
I
me
love
wake
that.
up expecting to see his hand somewhere in my life.
Yeah.
And because I know that is my primary interaction, it helps me right size all the other interactions that I'm in, right? And it helps
Mhm.
me see people through a lens of dignity and see myself, right? So that confidence has my dignity at an all-time high. Therefore,
Yeah.
there's no room or space that I occupy that I'm in where I
Mhm.
feel small.
Yeah.
And I think often people don't feel joy. It's hard to feel joy in small spaces, right? Like
Yeah.
joy is meant to be effusive and big and grand and grow and
Yeah.
shine and reverberate and you're
Yeah.
supposed to feel joy.
Emboldened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, feel emboldened. Joy, the nature I think of joy, at least as I understand it, it is
Mhm.
not in fractions or in addition or multiplication. It's exponential. Like when you're experiencing real joy, there is something that you can't explain by it. It's something that people watching you experience real joy can't explain, but
Yeah.
they want to participate.
Yeah, for
They want to
sure.
join in and they want to say, man, I don't know what it is that's going on inside of you. I don't know why that smile is so
Give me some of
authentic.
that. Give me some of that.
I don't know why your skin is popping and glowing, whatever, the T clock, whatever they doing. Real joy is an invitation to something. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so
I
my
like that.
so that confidence that I'm walking with every day at present is
Mhm.
an invitation for others to join into that and
I
to get
like
a
that.
piece of that. And
Mhm.
so that's what's really bringing me joy right now.
Yeah, I like that. I like it. You know
Mhm.
what, Jason? Like, so before the work that you really are known for today, and we're gonna talk
Mhm.
about this unlocking the natural genius, like, because
Mhm.
I think that is pivotal in the lives of
Mhm.
people. But before this, who were you becoming? Like, in the opener, you were like, there's this legacy that from your parents and in
Yeah.
education, and you kind of following that through, but
Yeah.
I would imagine that with some of this work and stuff that you're doing now, the kind of the evolution of who you are,
Mhm.
who were you becoming? Because I think that's a good place. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, well, where were you? And then what brought
Yeah.
you here?" And that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because I think it's
Yeah.
going to really kind of set the foundation for what they hear from
Yeah.
you coming next.
No, that's a great question. I mean, I think I can answer this from several different vantage points, but I'll start with a personal anecdote, and then I'll go to career, and then I'll go to just who I am, in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think personally, I've been on a discovery, as a black man here in the United States who's been afforded the opportunity and it was still to me to be educated and be intelligent, right? And so
Yeah.
part of what this journey that I've been on is both self discovery of
Mm-hmm.
tearing down the layers of all the sort of external places that have told me, tried to define me for me instead of
Yeah.
moving in a place of self definition. So I think I've just been on a lifelong journey to better understand like who I am in how my mind works
Mhm.
and what's important to me, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think that so in the last probably 10 years of my life,
Mhm.
I've come to understand what's important to me. And I've come to, I've worked with a Marine in the past who taught me that when they're in the field, there's something called a signal to noise ratio.
Mhm.
And it is that signal that a combatant or something out in space that is seen or unseen, they have to be at a level of sharpness and a level of knowing their capacity,
Mhm.
and they have to imagine the capacity of whatever they're facing and have a beeline, a signal to it, so that they can move towards it and have a successful outcome. What they have to cut down on is noise. They have to cut down on the noise of maybe a battlefield or the noise that's happening in their life. And so, what I really figured out over the last 10 years is I've become much more focused on the signals that animate kind of my passions and who I am. And I've
Mhm.
been able to cut out the noise,
Okay.
those voices and experience and people around us who
Mhm.
mean us no good, who really don't see us for who we are, who may even have good intentions. These are some intimate others who are feeding you their limitations of where they got limited in their
Mhm.
journey, and then sort of questioning you on yours. And so I've been able to cut out a lot of noise. So
Mhm.
I am becoming someone who is able to rightly divide the right signals from
Mhm.
noise. Now,
Mhm.
what that's done for me vocationally is I started really not knowing what I wanted to do in my early 20s. So I went from job to job like many of us do.
Mhm.
But then I figured out, okay, well, maybe it's this education route. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe I'll become a professor and do all
Mhm.
the things and study and research. And I did that. But then I got out of that and got into leadership roles where I was working in the DEI space. And so I always knew I needed to do something for and with people, right? Mainly
Mhm.
with them. And
Mhm.
so I was becoming a leader who impacted people's lives, right? Who opened up doors for scholarships, opened up doors for opportunities. And I did that, right? And then I
Mhm.
became more of a localized leader, right? And more focused on how do we make the system on the ground in earlier ages better so that we
Mhm.
can remove some of the barriers for people as they're developing who they are. And so now I'm in a place where I think I'm fully formed in that. I am a leader. I don't that just is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Period.
people say, argue with your mama. But so I am a leader, and so I'm becoming more confident in what that means. And
Mhm.
that means that in some spaces I lead through influence. I don't necessarily need a title, but if I'm in the room, I'm influencing something and I'm
Mhm.
moving something. So I'm becoming that, right? And so I'm looking for more spaces where I can have more self definition in that, where I
Mhm.
can just have it on my own terms and
Mhm.
have something come in that space where I can just grow that identity, right? But I know I'm ready to lead. I know that I'm ready to walk people through that space.
Yeah.
And then who I am in the world, I recognize that I have to not sit on the gifts and talents and natural abilities that I believe God has given me. So, like, now it's time to really put myself out there. So
Mhm.
what that means then is it's not going to be perfect. I might not be able to control it
Yeah.
tightly or 100%. But what it does mean is that I'm ready to go ahead and just start taking steps into the world so the world can do what they want with what I'm providing, right? And this, listen, one person may not love it, but two might like it. And so that's the thing that I'm in. I'm just in that. I'm in this mode where my confidence level is so high that I'm not um, I'm not blocked if somebody pushes back on what I'm trying to do for them.
Mhm.
And so I'm ready to say, like, okay, well, it wasn't meant for them. It must be
Yeah.
meant for the next person. And so
Yeah.
I just have such a belief that what God has put inside me is ready to sort of launch in a
Yeah.
particular way. Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, you know what, that's really good, because when I think about, there's always the conversation of who am I becoming,
Hmm.
like, and over time we do get to, a level, but there's going to be that space. And I love when you say, I'm a leader and that's it, right? Like that's it, because there's a being that comes with who you have become.
100%.
You know what I mean? And so I love that. So Jason, kind of drilling down a little bit, I was thinking about, what would you say was that early moment or season that
Hmm.
kind of shaped how you see purpose and
Hmm.
success now? Because it might be different. I know success for me when I
Yeah.
was 25 looked different than what it is at 50. um,
Hmm.
but for you, was there an early moment, or was there a season that you kind of, that kind of quietly shaped, the way
Mm,
you look at purpose now and
yeah.
success?
This is an interesting question. I think I can't really point to sort of one pivotal moment where that kind of happened.
Hmm.
I would say mine is more in that Malcolm Gladwell. It's the 10,000 hours.
Yeah, yeah, you've
It's
mastered something. Hmm.
it's the slow mastery of whether I'm in front of one, 10, 100, or 1,000. My view of self and my view of what is the task at hand does not change, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I've had an opportunity to speak in a lot of different places
Hmm.
to a lot of different audiences, and in many cases, audiences that did not look like me, did not grow up like me, did not weren't
Hmm.
shaped like me.
Hmm.
And I think what that's done is helped me understand that there is something quite universal about all of us, right? When you
Hmm.
really strip down all of the surface differences that we carry, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
One is we all deeply want to be seen,
Yeah.
and we all deeply want to be validated.
Hmm.
There is this deep yearning, right? For most of us, I've only met a few people, and this was in my time being a prison psychologist, when I've looked in the eye of a true psychopath who had no human emotion. But that's really the only time that I've seen and connected with people where they didn't have this deep yearning to be understood,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And when
Yeah.
you think about all of your important relationships
Hmm.
and all of the communication within your important relationships,
Hmm.
at the end of the day, there is this deep yearning, right? Whether you put it in a business context or a personal context,
Hmm.
most people just really want to be understood.
Yeah.
And so, because I have come to understand that,
Hmm.
as I've spoken to different audiences, I feel them.
Hmm. Hmm.
I can
Hmm.
feel that yearning. And
Hmm.
so, in many cases, when I'm speaking, I speak directly to that. And it has never failed me. But this is, again, 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
I have evidence after evidence after evidence. When you speak to people's yearning, it will have good impact and people remember it. So I have a student who stalked me, who social media stalked me. I taught me 15 years ago, and they'll reach out to me and they'll say, Dr. Gines, like, I remember when and I've forgotten. So this is the thing about it. I don't remember, but
Yeah.
they did. And so they'll reach out to me and they'll be like, I remember when you taught and said this, and for the last 10 years I've been living it. It's
Hmm.
that kind of stuff that gives me
Yeah.
a
You know
sense
you.
that, yeah, like it is, and I don't take credit for that, but I just understand that that's the journey that's
Mhm.
been laid out for me. So
Yeah. Now you know what? Thinking about that, because you talked about just a bit ago about who people are in context, right?
mhm,
Because I imagine that when you are talking, whether you're speaking or having a conversation with somebody in the grocery store, and who you are
yeah,
is who you are, no matter where you're at.
yeah,
Um, I think. because of the context. And this is, I'm coming up with a question here, but I'm
Hmm.
thinking, part of the work that you're doing and everything that you're sharing and kind of meeting people where they are now and them being
Hmm.
able to meet themselves where they are. How'd you get to that? What it's not just the person, it's the person in context. How did you kind of come up with that
Yeah.
concept, or what was it that made you see that? When did the light bulb go off there?
Yeah, I'll give credit to the professors I had in my master's and PhD program for counseling who exposed me to many different theoretical orientations. And theoretical orientation is nothing more than an explanation of how human beings come to relate to themselves and to others, right?
Mhm.
That's all a theoretical orientation is. But it was through the study of those where I began to really understand for me when I
Mhm.
adopted my own way of seeing how human beings operate and think and
Mhm.
have their emotional systems and behavior, what I begin to see is that you cannot divorce that from the context that they're in. Because you
Mhm.
can have the same person, put them in a completely different context than they're used to, and
Mhm.
they will exhibit completely different behavior, right?
Okay.
So, for instance, if you have someone who's born, educated, works, never traveled and stayed in the same place within probably a 10 to 20 block radius. They
Mhm.
know that block. They know that radius. They know the people there. If you put them in a different environment, maybe across the state line, or put them in a different environment in a different part of town, and ask them to catch the cultural mores or what's happening or the cultural rhythm of that new place,
Mhm.
they will instantly either do one of two things. They will reject the new place and they will act in self sabotaging ways. And this is
Mhm.
really big for so many of us. We engage in self sabotage when we feel like there's a place we don't belong. And so, in order to make it true, we will begin to engage in self fulfilling behaviors. We will
Mhm.
begin to self sabotage
Wow.
and act in ways that we would not have acted in places where we're comfortable to get out of that place or send a signal to who is ever in that new environment or who's ever in that new culture that they know that I'm not supposed to be there and I'm going to self sabotage myself so I don't have to be here. So for me, like when I think about that and I think about the reality of
Mhm.
what so many of us have to contend with, right? There's this thing called imposter syndrome, and it's not unfamiliar to most people who probably listen to this. It's
Mhm.
this idea that I'm in a place, but I don't feel quite like these are my people. I don't feel like this is where I belong. There's something about this level. We love to talk about levels. Everybody ain't on my level. Get on my level. We love to talk about levels,
Mhm.
but there is something real about there's something deeply embedded in us where only we know it, right? Like there's a
Mhm.
thing that's in us deep where we feel like we're out of our depth, where we feel
Mhm.
like the level that we're experiencing is not quite what I have been prepared for. And so there has to be something that bridges that gap no matter what room you walk into between what I've been prepared to do and my feeling of readiness to handle whatever's in the room.
Mhm.
And so this is where I begin to really think and spend a lot of my life energy. And
Yeah.
that's where I came up with natural genius because I believe
Yeah.
natural genius is that gap.
Yeah.
It fills that gap between
Yeah.
what you feel like you've been prepared to do, but feeling like I don't care who's in the room, what's in the room. I can handle whatever it is if I have the right level of confidence. If I lean into my natural genius, if I lean into who I really am, there's nothing in this room that's bigger than me.
Right.
And so I
Right.
think that's where I begin to really think about because one of the parts that of my life is seeing students underperform.
Mhm.
This has taught me a lot. Having smart students come into a classroom space, and this is at the K through 12 and the collegiate space. but having smart students come into the room, and you can tell that they have an intelligence, but something has happened where when they get in the room in a class with all these, I've taught classes of 150 people. It's something about when they get in that room, and you can see them looking around, and you can see the confidence leave their eyes. You can see the confidence leave them when it should be rising in them, right? And over the years, just having seen that year after year after year, begin to speak to it. And so that's one of the things I began to do when I began to identify students. And I'm not going to lie, there's probably more students of color I've done this with than others, but I've done it with everybody, but more students of color. And being able to have that conversation with them to say, there's nobody in this room who either by your hard work or by your natural intelligence can outdo you in this course. So I gave them an option, even in their, because they were getting ready to self-sabotage. They stopped coming to class. They stopped turning in work. You could see it coming, self-sabotage. And so the conversation, in short, that I will have with these students is either by your hard work or by your natural intelligence, there's no one in this class that can outdo you. But I can't convince you of that. You have to convince yourself of that. But just know that when I look your direction, I'm believing in one of those two things being realized in this class. And so that's real to me, right? Like if I'm in a similar situation, and how often have we needed that in our life? All of us have been in situations where we got a new leadership position, we got into a new business, whatever it is, and we've needed somebody to look us in the face and say, either by your hard work or your natural gifts and talents and abilities and intelligence, you're going to get this thing done. And so I want to be that for people. And I want to be that for people.
No, that, you know what, Jay, that's good. You know what? Everybody needs that. And in talking about those levels, it don't matter what level you on. You know what I mean? Like there are CEOs of Fortune 21 organizations that have a coach that they pay lots
100%.
of money to look them in the face and remind them that they are worthy, that they are
100%.
intelligent, they can do whatever it is they've been called to do. I remember sitting in a room, and this has been years ago, and our CEO in North America, I won't even share the company, but it was at the time, and they still are Fortune 5. They're certainly on the Fortune 100 list, but and the CEO laid off 25%. He was giving us the message that attrition was there, but 25% of the workforce. This wasn't a department or just a team, but 25% of the workforce, and this was like back in 1996. And listen, he got up there, and I remember him talking. I remember people laughing. I remember having conversations and stuff. But ultimately, the message that he delivered that day was this time next year, 25% of you guys are going to be gone. Oof. And you can't tell me that he had to talk to somebody to get him there. Remember Oprah? 100%. That's where Dr. Phil came from.
100%, 100%. Yeah.
But you need that.
But I love that. I love that, this idea that no matter what sort of natural level you're on, right, by job hierarchy or whatever it is, economic or whatever it is, there's not any of us who are immune from needing some positive reinforcement and from somebody to believe, but somebody to hold you. We talked about accountability a little bit ago. Somebody being able to say, no. Not that you can be somebody else or do it how somebody else is doing it. I'm talking like we need people to speak to us. That, and that's the thing. Like, and so I try to do that and try to hold the space. And you know how it is. Like we've all, we call it presence, right? Like it's a lot of work and books I'm reading now on presence, right? But basically it is, when you're in the presence of somebody who has cut down all the noise and made you the signal that they're after. That means like they are locked in. And for some of us, that makes us uncomfortable because we're used to people being distracted, noise, and given,
Mm-hmm.
like when I used to be in the church
Yeah.
world, it was the doc. Hey doc, yeah, we're gonna get together, doc. We're gonna do this, doc. We're gonna do
Have you met with Doc yet?
yeah, have you met with Doc? They ain't met with Doc yet. Doc in the wind, right? So, so I think it's just important to get to a place where like we lock into each other and be something for each other. And in the absence of having an intimate other who's doing that for you, then we need to create more and more spaces. Listen, I don't think it's enough spaces that we can fill to
Mm-hmm.
have people who will look at you and say, you know, I'm going to help you by your hard work, by our hard work together, and by my gentle encouragement for you to embrace what I believe you're naturally gifted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Get to it, right? And
Yeah.
so, but we need people kind of pushing us in that way. We need people, I think, who are willing to. And this is another thing that I've been thinking about for a long time. In order for me to really listen, because listening is a learned skill, and
Mm-hmm.
and I think
Absolutely.
so few of us do it well. But in order for us to really listen, there is a measure of displacing, removing ourselves from the center, moving ourselves to the margin of the conversation, and placing the other person in the center of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is it allows you to actually see this person in full, but it also helps you understand that like if I'm to be a catalyst for your future, and I love this catalyst language because it is that activating agent that I become for you so that then you can strap that rocket ship to your back and reach
Mm-hmm.
your dreams.
Yeah.
For us to really be catalyst for one another, that activating agent for one another, there has to be a temporary displacement of our own sense of self and
Yeah.
our own sense of whatever. And then we have to put this other person in the center of that. And I think we do that far too. I don't see that far
Enough.
enough, and we
Mm-hmm.
don't do it often at all. And so I think if anything, of anyone who would listen to this is to say, if I'm going to take inventory of who actually removes themselves from the center and puts me in the middle, and then build an inventory of people in my life who I need to be surrounding it right now so I can reach my dreams,
Mm-hmm.
that's how we can begin to cut out people who are noisy.
Yeah.
And when I
Uh,
mean cut out, cut out, I don't mean cut off. I
mm-hmm.
don't mean remove them from your life. I just mean in terms of your inner calculation for when you're determining what you're capable of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cutting out that noise so it doesn't get into that interior place, and I
Yeah.
think it takes practice, right? I mean, I talk of
Yeah.
10,000 hours, but that takes a lot of practice to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Jason, I want to make sure that we give people an opportunity to hear about. We may have to pick this conversation up again because I want to talk about unlocking your natural genius. Like
Yeah.
there's so much in there, just from the things that you've shared, this work that you do, and this exposing people to, am
Hmm.
I really sabotaging myself? How do I get out of it? Because that's what people ultimately need and want to know. So give them a little bit about this unlocking your natural genius, and
Yeah.
what it's doing for people, the transformation that people are actually making themselves.
Yeah. So, so net there, so the way that is framed out is I believe that all of us have some level of natural, internal, God-given genius, right? That
Mm-hmm.
that that
Mm-hmm.
in with resident within all of us, right? Whether it's
Mm-hmm.
unformed, whether it's lying dormant, whether it's yet to be activated, is budding. All of us have some type of natural genius in us. And natural genius is nothing more than that natural inclination for a thing that you can do, that when you put your mind, your hands, your emotional system towards it, it feels like a natural flow. It feels easier than
Mhm.
doing other things, right?
Mhm.
So I believe and have created a system of five, right? So the first one is visionary genius. And these are for people who are big dreamers, right? Maybe light on actual follow through, but they're big dreamers, and you need them in your
Mhm.
life. People
Yeah.
who can say, let's start something that's never been started. Let's pave a path that's never
Mhm.
been paved. Let's go in a direction where some of us have never been. You
Mhm.
need visionary genius thinkers, right, in the
Yeah.
space, and that comes natural to some people, right? And I always like to say, uh, when I talk about cutting down noise, for folks who have visionary genius, it is especially important to cut out noise, because you
Mhm.
will have people tell you that what you're talking about is crazy, nonsensical, never can be done. That, and if it can be done, you can't do it.
Yeah.
So visionaries especially have to cut down noise.
Mhm.
And then you have people who have an execution genius, and that's simply that
Yeah.
people who these are people who can create rules and forms and processes. These are people who do it naturally, right? These are people who've
Mhm.
been running a playground. That,
Yeah.
like, they told you how long you had on the ropes. They told you how long. They've been doing it for a long time. Execution geniuses been running people forever.
Yeah.
But you need people who can get things done. These are people, when the
Mhm.
rubber hits the road, you can depend on them. You can
Yeah.
know that
Yeah.
they're gonna plan the picnic, they're gonna plan the church, they're gonna do all the things. And
Yeah.
but it's a natural genius for them.
Yeah.
And one
I
of the
think that's
things
my
these
genius.
well, there you go. And so one of the things people execution geniuses need to watch out for is often they can come off as overly demanding or pushy or overly detail oriented, and sometimes they can miss the relational aspect, right? So,
Mhm.
and I want to say at the top, none of these are exclusive. Like, you can have
Yeah.
multiple geniuses.
Right.
The next one is relationship genius, which is one, when I took the survey, I'm
Mhm.
really high in relational genius.
Mhm.
And so these are people who can create and make and sustain connections. These are people who don't have to have seen you forever, but like, they meet you in 2 minutes, know everything that's been going on in your life.
Mhm.
These are people for whom everybody goes to when they're having issues and trouble. These are people who are coaches. These are people who really understand how to move people from A to Z, right? This is a relational genius. And sometimes relational geniuses are not the best at execution, right? We're more concerned about the connection and the relation and all of that. We don't always get stuff done, right? And
Mhm.
so that's where
Mhm.
I need execution genius to help buttress my relational genius.
Mhm.
And then you have artistic or creative genius. These are people who make movies, films. These are people who create tech websites and understand and vision and see all these different things that no one else is seeing. Kind of akin to visionary, but different. These are creative souls. These are artists. These are musicians. These are people
Mhm.
who make the world beautiful. And these are people who translate beauty.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
and these are creative people who can do that for you. And then the last is physical genius. These are people good with their hands. They have a mechanical aptitude. That this means
Mhm.
that these are people who never studied a book, open a book, but you take them on the block, they can fix your car. They can put a new engine in your car. They can rebuild your radio. They can take something that they don't really know and have not been formally trained to do, but understand it, right?
Mhm.
And so history is filled with people who executed in their natural genius, right?
Mhm.
And so, really, the book is just laying out people, both current figures and people from our past, who embraced their natural genius. The
Yeah.
thing I love about it is the book talks about that many of these people who we now regard as genius started with so much difficulty. The person
Mhm.
who's coming to mind is Maya Angelou, who went to, who's known for her beautiful, beautiful speeches and
Rose.
poetry and public
Mhm.
speaking. She went through a period where she didn't speak literally for some years early on in her life. And this is something that people don't know, but it's in the book. And so what I'm really trying to tell people is that it doesn't matter what's been an impediment and barrier to date. I don't care if it's been a teacher who's told you you can't do it. I don't believe it. I don't care if it's a parent who told you you can't do it. I'm here to tell you that your natural genius can and will be realized, because I'm going to come alongside you and tell you, by your hard work and by your natural genius, you're going to get where you need to go. And I'm going to help you do that by identifying what your natural genius is. I'm going to give you pathways to develop and build your natural genius, and then give you ways and pathways to help you move and have real impact in your natural genius. That's what the book is really about. And so I think it's the book that I've been kind of coming to probably my whole life, but really in the last 10 years, it's really a culmination of just seeing, it's my answer to people underutilizing the natural gifts and abilities that they have, that could benefit so many of us, but they just, for whatever reason, have not tapped into it. So really the book is a first attempt to get people to tap into it.
Tapping into your natural genius. Jay, we're gonna have to pick this one up again and do it. But I want people to know, because I think there's so much in there. Like the assessment is in there. There's 100%. So everything that you speak to. I mean, it's almost like, you guys, I'm telling you, if you listening in, Jason, give them the website so that they can go get an order, get a copy of the book, so that you can take that internal, so that you can read yourself in the pages. You're in there. I'm telling you, it's just, the book is like ragu. You in there.
Yeah. So it's very good. So it's 2 websites you can get to it. One is Get Aligned, ALIGNED.com. You can get to it that way. And then the next is just unlockyournaturalgenius.com, and you can get there. And when you get there, the book is on the site. You can get the book through the website. Also, there's some information on there that helps you kind of locate yourself and some of your pain points, some of the things that you don't know that should be pain points. But then once you have it described to you, be like, man, I've been dealing with this stress. I need to understand this stress. I need to understand this pain. And then you can find me on LinkedIn, and you can find me at Jason Gines. You can find me all over the place, Facebook. But what I really want to say is that I want to get you connected, and I'm working on some things right now that's going to get you connected to your natural genius, so that 2026 and beyond will be time where you no longer sit on the sidelines of your own dreams. Where you can tap in and get into the center and get active in creating your dream state in your life. And so that's what I want to help you do.
All right, you guys, he told you, getalive.com, unlockyournaturalgenius.com, and all of the notes and the websites and everything, it is in the description. Jason, you've been beautiful. It's been a blessing. Thank you so much for coming into the lab tonight. I'm excited. I'm excited about where people are going to be able to go. So thank you for being a guest. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. And listen, I'm going to tell your guests, my goal is to unlock 1 million geniuses by the time I'm 50. So I got a year to get this happen. So I want you to be in the number. I want you to be in the number. Let's unlock your natural genius.
Yes. All right. There's a counter on the website, y'all. We're throwing a counter on there, Jay, so that we'll know how many people and how close you are to that million genius goal. I love it. Thank you again for coming in. You all, this has been the Reimagine You Lab podcast with MG and Dr. Jason Gines tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. And every Friday, I want you to tune in, because there's going to be a guest in here. And if you got something out of this episode, share it. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Give it to other people. Let them tune in, listen in. That catalytic energy that Jason was bringing on tonight, that who you are in context, all of that. Unlock your natural genius. Give it to them. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with somebody. And I thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Until then, I'll see you later.